All right, we're unmuted.
What's up, guys?
Hey,
How are you doing? We got Mark Hanaway here, Christian Stallings, Tim Johnston, and Karina Zabel. I see a few old timers to GeoDev on there. I see Corey Brunk. How are you doing?
Good, man. How's it going?
Kyle Gonter, what are you doing, sir? Looks like we have somebody new. Thank you for joining us. Hey, Leonard. Mike Orth. Michael K.
Mike Catace with me.
Okay.
Hey, Mike. Mike's one of the co-founders.
Very nice. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Chris. This is our first time doing a Zoom meeting. So thank you, and thank you for bearing with us. We're also joined by a cross-country team right next to us, so there might be a few distractions. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. All right, we set up some other computers, so we didn't have to crowd around. Hopefully that works. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully all of our technology works for us today. We are using hotspots to connect tablets, several computers, Bluetooth, and hopefully everything works. All right. So it's kind of a silly question. Why do we inspect things? But I think it's also a question that a lot of people don't really think about. Why do we have inspections in the first place? It's because, things break. Obviously, right? We deal with this all the time, right? And, if we have preventative maintenance, we can mitigate a lot of these problems. That's why we do preventative maintenance on our vehicles. That's why we do preventative maintenance on our assets. If we can identify the problem before there's a problem, it's usually 10 times better. When you identify a problem after you have an issue, typically it's 10 times worse because there's some chain events that happens that makes the problem worse. It happens at the worst time possible. Additionally, knowing the problem before there's an issue can minimize, infrastructure failures and save us money. We all know of different examples of this. Sorry, we have some more people joining us. So, the first step to fixing it, obviously, is identifying that a problem exists. And so how do we identify that a problem exists? So Esri GIS tools have helped resolve this for a lot of different assets, right? This is nothing new. We have managed all spatial information about where our assets are, what the asset is, when it was installed, what condition it is, etc. And we've done this for a long time. And there's some great field applications, right? So we've put a lot of this data now in the cloud, so we can centralize where the data is, and we can access this from different points using Esri Collector, Survey123, or some of these different resources that have streamlined some of these processes. With that said, though, there's certain types of assets that is very difficult to inspect from the ground. Electric utility is a great example of that. It's hard to do a proper inspection from ground for those types of assets. Windmills being another one, Tradewind deals with. So for this problem, we've been using drones for a while now. They have proven a very valuable tool to do these types of inspections. They can get to the locations that it's difficult to get to, jobs that are dangerous, and they can do it very efficiently. But the problem to this point has been, okay, now you have a tool, you can go and access this information, you can collect information, but unlike all these established GIS workflows that we've been doing on the ground for other apps, there hasn't been a great way to correlate this with our data, right? Now we can identify the areas, but now the next part is, now that you have the information, you need to correlate and manage that data in some kind of meaningful way so that you can do something with it, so you create action. And to this point, there hasn't been a good correlation between the drone and your GIS information. So this is the problem that we set out to solve. We wanted to do this. Basically, in a nutshell, we wanted to take the drone and Esri collector and put them together. So we developed a product which is essentially that. It's, you know, if Esri collector and a drone had a baby, they would have BirdOne. And so what this does is it allows you to take your GIS information and display it on the drone. One of the difficulties that, you know, we had to ask ourselves is, so how do you take your GIS data and use it on a drone in some kind of way that's meaningful? And the thing that made the most of us was using augmented reality, right? Because we have this live video feed. We're going to use that to inspect and collect information, but we also need to know where we are. And just having a planimetric map window where we saw our drone and we saw our video, we just didn't think that was going to be adequate enough. We needed something that intuitive. So we thought, well, let's just take the GIS data and let's put it right on the video feed. And so that raised different kind of challenges that we had to deal with. So every camera is different. You have to model those different cameras. So we set out to solve that problem. Some of the other problems that you deal with is not all your data is in 3D. For augmented reality to work, you need a 3D environment. So we brought the terrain with us with our data so that we can take your 2D data and we can make that 3D to make that work. So the reason that we set out to do this in the first place is actually based on my personal experiences during Hurricane Florence in 2018. I used to work for a first provider, and we were dispatched to Wilmington, North Carolina, and some other places in the Carolinas after the hurricane to help with emergency response for electric utility. Our goal, our drone crews, goal was to go and find those locations where there were power outages, and once those areas were located, identified, that we get information to the damage assessors who would then mark it in their GIS map. So they would have a laptop or a tablet that would have their GIS information. We would have the drone. We would go and identify the locations. Depending on the workflow, sometimes we would just go out all day. We'd collect all these images. We'd give those to a damage assessor. They would stay up all night going through all that data, finding the areas of concern, looking at the metadata, finding the location, then correlating that back to GIS to go and send crews to do that. Which seemed crazy. Even when we were with them in person, you had the challenge of, you got an area that's flooded and you can't read the pole numbers. He's got a planimetric map, and you try to determine, how does what I'm seeing correlate to what you're seeing? And so you start counting poles, and it's just not a great method. So, I just felt that we could do this better. If we just put these two things together, we can make this better. We can make it work like Collector or some of these other tools. We could streamline this whole process. So that was the inspiration for starting BirdOne. And from there, we're really proud of where we got. We're going to try to do a live demo, again, over a Wi-Fi hotspot. So let's hope that everything works. So we got the drone all up, and we've got some data. All right. Okay. So I'm going to take a step back. There we go. All right. So we have a distribution line here in the park, right? So imagine these are our assets. And we need to do just a routine inspection. We need to go collect new information on our existing asset information. So with BirdOne, all you have to do is you log into your portal. You select your map. And you download your data. So you have a local copy Esri calls this your runtime database. So your local copy of your database, but we're going to skip all that. We've already downloaded it. So once your data is downloaded, you're able to perform your inspections just like in Collector, except we're using augmented reality. All right. Ready? All right, clear prop. So the drone takes a little bit of time for your telemetry to catch up. So Esri does some calculations to determine your heading.
Your feed dropped here.
We'll wait for that to do that. There we go.
Yeah, same here.
All right, so we can see our data directly on our video feed. Oh,
Your screen share dropped.
hold on.
Yeah, session closed.
Come on, and he does. There we go. Figure something would break. All right, can you see the screens? Okay, excellent.
Yep.
All right, so we've seen our GIS. There we go, right on the on our live video feed. So as we fly around, we can see our information. We can change the selectability of those layers. So we can turn selectability and viewability off and on. All right. So from there, we can go. We can interact with our assets.
Christian, we should probably note that the Hertz rate is somewhat slower here than it is in real life.
So we can perform our inspection, we can select them, we can see our notes, we can assess the condition, and we can attach imagery to our feature. Do that in several different ways. So in this mode, we are doing a low bandwidth, low res version of the imagery, which is ideal when you have low bandwidth settings, especially in emergency response type situations. All right. So let's say, for example, for some reason we're missing an asset in our GIS. You can quickly see that the information is not there. So we have our center line, but for some reason we don't have our utility. So all we have to do, select the point, We can create new data inside of our database. And once we've created that point, we can attach imagery. We can set our attributes. And because we're flying with our terrain data, we can actually create points from different look angles. So we don't have to be directly at it. A lot of the other problems with some of the other asset management tools is that you had to be directly, or they use asset data, right? Location from the images taken, right? So we're clearly offset on the other side of the road. With our software, that doesn't matter. Still create that point because we're intersecting the terrain that we're taking with us. Again, we can attach our images and we can set our information. So once our data is collected, I'm going to go ahead and come back and land. You can actually do this in flight, but it's safer, obviously, to land before you start processing information. Okay, yeah, we should do that. For those that couldn't join us in person. There you go. All right. Say hi to everyone online. We'll go ahead and associate that with that last poll. Awesome. All right. Let's go ahead and bring that down. All right. Still see the screen? Excellent. All right. So once you're done, let's go and show this first. Oh, no. That's not what I want. All right. So we saw where we were missing those polls. We're just going to hit sync. Oh, sorry. All right, so all that information we just collected, those images, all the new locations, all the attribute information, all that, we're going to go ahead and push that up back to our database. Once that's done, we can update our map. And you can see our new points. So all that new information that we collected, you can see kind of how well it fit to that line, right? Removed some points earlier. Come on. There we go. Okay. So we can see the images we collected. We can see the attributes that we entered. That quick. So we're able to add that information. Look at that photo of us. There we go. Just like that. So again, I mean, the whole inspiration was for this is that we just needed the same tools, you know, that we had on the ground. It just, to this point, no one's come up with a good way that the information that you collect in a drone inspection and correlate it back to your database. You can imagine all the different workflows, right? For all these different kind of widely dispersed assets that you have, you know, collating all that information in a simplified way. So I know that was probably pretty quick, but you know, this is our first meetup since March. Yeah, it just feels good to actually do something like this again, do a little flying. And if you want, we can do some more flying if you're interested in flying it. Does anyone have a Part 107? Does anyone have a Part 107? That's okay, I do. So as a pilot in command, you can actually take the sticks. So if anyone is interested, we can get it up in the air and we can take some photos. And I'm going to unmute everyone. Anyone has any questions online? Sorry, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I have a few.
No. I see someone's talking, but I can't hear them.
Can you hear me?
Oh, can you hear them, Mark? I can't hear them.
I can hear them.
I can hear Corey.
Okay.
You can hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah, just maybe speak a little louder.
Okay. Quick question on, you mentioned your terrain data that you got in. Did you get that from, did you guys fly that? Or is that something that you got, where'd you get the terrain data? Or the,
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh. That's a good question, Corey. From Esri. If your data's 3D, if you have data, if you don't, we download Esri terrain. I think it's off.
Corey, were you able to make that answer out from Christian? No?
Oh,
We'll try one more time.
We're using the Esri terrain. Sorry about that.
I didn't.
Corey,
Yeah.
we're using the Esri terrain data
Okay.
off the shelf.
Yeah. So it automatically downloads the terrain data when you download your runtime.
Okay.
If your data is 3D, we'll honor that. But if it's not, we use the terrain. And we don't change your database. We only change the version that we fly with.
Can you use, if you have elevation data from outside sources or just like a DEM of area, can you use that?
Not currently, but in that workflow, if you have that, and you know, it's really a means to make your data show up correctly in augmented reality, right? So, you know, if your data needs to be in 3D, it's probably better to do that a different way than do it while you're flying.
Right. My second question was on the condition attribute. Are you able to do domains and like coded features where it's like pre-populated from a selection of poor, good, so forth? So everything's like you don't have any outliers.
Yeah, that's a good question. Next version will honor ranges and domains. So yeah, the edit attributes actually getting reworked so that it's all going to be one screen, and you'll have drop downs for all your domains, and then you'll have, you know, filters for your ranges. And then next after that, we're going to work on the joint tables, the related tables.
Yeah.
So that, you know, you can set up your inspection so that you're using joint tables.
Sounds good. Thank you. That's all I got.
Christian, if I could make a few remarks.
Yeah, hi, Mike. Go ahead.
First of all, you're working over a wireless hotspot right now.
Yep.
So the hertz rate that we were seeing is extremely slow to the way it is in real life, the refresh rate on the screen. So the video is being updated at 60 hertz a second, and the telemetry is updated at 10 hertz a second. So a lot more crisp than what we saw on the screen. Also, it's amazing that you're doing all this over a hotspot, including synchronizing back to the GIS database.
Yeah, no, we're running 3 computers.
Do we want to recommend Verizon, AT&T?
Yeah. Verizon's great. Yeah. Yeah. For those that may have joined late, Mike Taith is one of the co-founders of BirdOne and the CTO as well.
Yeah, the edit attributes dialog that you saw that he was using today is a really old one. It was on the original cut. Again, like you mentioned, we have a new one that's a lot more efficient with everything exposed on the first page. So it's a lot easier to use, and that should be out, I think, next week.
Hey, Christian, it's a really great demonstration so far.
Thanks, Keith.
I'd like to start testing this out if possible, but I was wondering if you've made any progress on supporting any other drones besides the Mavic 2, and particularly like the M210 or some of the other enterprise equipment.
So we've been adding all those cameras to the camera library. We should support 67 different DJI drone camera lens combinations.
You're garbling a little bit.
We support 67 different drone lens camera combinations right now.
Okay. I mean, so could I test this out on an M210 with like an X5S or an XT2 or something?
Absolutely, and you could help us out. So,
Oh, I'd love to do that. I got one of them sitting downstairs right now.
Thank you. You're now an official beta tester.
All right. I'll be happy to give it a go. I thought before we were just limited to that bird, so I just didn't have one of those available.
We were, and honestly, our hands were a little tied by DJI. So basically,
Yeah.
we had to ask the drone, what camera is this? And if it has a lens, what lens is it? And we had difficulty getting answers from them on there. So we were able to put in a callback that populates a database for us. So if the camera's not in there, now we'll get that answer, that callback, so we can add it to our camera library.
Cool. Yeah, I'd like to try to get it going with the XT2 and see how useful it would be for doing some solar inspections. We got a site not too far from my house. I could
That'd be great.
potentially go try that out someday.
Christian, can we ask how many people are using Anophies?
Or Parrot.
Yes. No, yes.
On this, I don't know. How many people are flying drones other than Keith? So Keith has, I think, so a lot of our customers are, one of the problems has been DJI. I don't know if anyone's following what's going on with drones. And so DJI has become a concern. Has that become a concern at Eno?
I mean, it's definitely a concern that there's been some official, notifications from Homeland Security and FERC on the use of DJI equipment. But at this point in time, they're just advisories. We're not in a position where we're forbidden from using their equipment at this time, and we have quite a bit of it. So Nell is not planning on discontinuing it at this time.
Okay.
So
Well, we have been
that's
in
the best way I could kind of phrase that.
Sure.
Keith, if you were restricted from using DJI, which direction would you go in?
That's still kind of up in the air. I mean, there's really just not a lot of other decent equipment that's not made by other Chinese manufacturers that wouldn't be in the same situation. So like Altel, for example, is not really that different. And it's something we've been considering, but I've been personally kind of taking a little bit of a step back from some of the drone program logistics and things and focusing a little bit more on what we do with the data that we collect. So I guess I'd just say that's up in the air.
We're just trying to look ahead to make sure that we do the research we need in case the worst case scenario happens.
I mean, well, pretty much everything that's not DJI is going to be based around like the PX4, Pixhawk type flight controllers. So
with Mavlink probably.
With something to that effect is the general alternative. But you know, DJI is really the only company with an SDK that's allowing you to do things like you just built right here very easily.
We think we can do the same thing with the Parrot and Nothing.
Okay, well that's definitely interesting. I mean, they've recently gotten the green light as far as you know, use by law enforcement and things like that. They're on the green list. There's a couple other companies on that list.
Yeah, if you encapsulate the telemetry in a separate module, it shouldn't be too hard to move the rest of the software from platform to platform.
Well, I think it makes sense to be planning for that, but you know, for now, DJI owns most of the market, and most utility companies that I know of are still using it, aside from some of the ones with some higher regulated facilities. You know, we're a renewable energy company, so it's not quite the same thing as running a nuclear plant.
Well, Keith, it's refreshing to hear that after reading the news for the last couple of weeks. It's nice to hear you say that.
Yeah, it's a lot of posturing and, you know, fear mongering. I mean, there's legitimate concerns, but a lot of it's overblown in my opinion. But there are some things that are legitimate, and it is possible to use the equipment in a way that, you know, is disconnected from their ability to phone home.
Well, let's see if they successfully ban TikTok first.
Yeah, seriously. So I don't know. You know, for now, what you're doing is great, and it's a sorely missing aspect of you know, the drone ecosystem around Esri. I mean, just in general, it's you know, kind of lacking compared to what some other companies have stepped up. But since all of our GIS is Esri, things need to integrate well. And a flying collector, I mean, I remember going back like 5 years ago or so when I got into this, that's exactly what I wanted, was a flying collector app. So this is really refreshing.
Well, Christian, do you want to talk about the level 0 licensing that you've been working on?
Well, we still got... Sorry. One second. Sorry, I keep getting some feedback. Yeah, well, we have a ways to go with that, but we are going to have a multiple license tier as well as a free tier. But that's still kind of in the works.
We see the need for providing some of this to people who aren't well versed in Esri, that they can see a dashboard without having to have the enterprise system of Esri or even be a user. So there's a way that Christian's looking at to do it that way also.
And you can do a ton with ArcGIS Online these days. This coupled with that, you don't have to be a GIS expert to do anything here.
Well, I would agree, but if you put a novice in front of ArcGIS Online, I think it's still have challenges. So we want to build an entire portal piece so that it's simplified just for this workflow.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're certainly able to build a customized user interface if you wanted to do that, so that people didn't have to use ArcGIS Online or Portal. I mean,
Keith, in your flying operation, are you using more Android or iOS?
That's also kind of a problem at the moment. You know, DJI support on the enterprise side for iOS is pretty much being eliminated. as they shift towards Android only. So we have a little bit of a mix, I would say. But you know, I've been kind of encouraging the purchasing of the new hardware to be with those new smart controllers they have. They're pretty nice, because it's been a bit of a problem having people use their own personal mobile devices or an iPad and just dealing with the logistics around it. I mean, for a professional pilot, it's fine, but we have a lot of, you know, our drone's just a tool maybe that they use on occasion. So you just kind of want it to work. So Android is starting, because of what DJI is moving towards, to be a little bit more of, I guess, the direction it's going. But you know, there's a lot of good apps that only exist on iOS, and there's a couple that only exist on Android, and it's a little frustrating that there isn't parity amongst them. But you know, that's the nature of their open SDK, where people can make whatever they want. So I would encourage you to support both, but if you're going to prioritize one over the other, probably iOS is the easier one and more broadly used. Most of the, you know, truly professional pilots that I know of typically use both. You know, have both at their disposal. A lot of times, if we're using like the M210 with its dual controllers, I've done a lot of kind of advanced mission planning for like solar inspections, and I'll quite frequently fly with two controllers, and the primary master controller will be running the DJI flight app, and on the slave controller I'll be running like a secondary mission planning app, and that works quite well. And I would imagine this would work the same as well too, if you wanted to do it in that manner.
Can you do that in both OSs? In both?
Yep, you can mix and match.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's just the slave controller wouldn't be able to actually, you know, fly the drone, but you'd be able to, say, fly it around with the master one and click on an object on the screen on the secondary one. I don't see why that wouldn't work. It's worked with everything else I've ever tried it with.
If Christian didn't mention it, we're on Android.
Oh, you're on Android. Okay. To me, that's better. I'm an Android guy. I don't like Apple.
Yeah.
But I do have an iPad, and that's literally the only reason I have an iPad, is to go with the drone. So, yeah, that's great, because that means you can side load it right onto the smart controller.
Yes, that there are some advantages of the licensing on Android.
So that's good. Yeah, I wasn't really sure. I didn't look like iOS there, but.
Well, if the app's written well, once you start the app, it should be hard to tell what you're running.
Right. That's why I wasn't really sure. I just assumed iOS, because that's like pretty much everyone I know that starts custom developing on DJI's SDK starts on iOS, but not everybody.
All right. Any other questions? Under supplies? Super easy.
You know,
I'll be there helping.
Some things that might be nice to think about in the future is like Esri's kind of quick capture app, doing something similar with the drone where you can just quickly tap a button and, you know, it records a feature with some preset attributes. So, you know, going through some of those menus while you're flying can be a little cumbersome depending on what you're doing.
We're redoing the edited attributes. So is that, I've never used that particular app. Is that something you pre-configure on your portal side?
Honestly, personally, I've never used the quick capture app, but I got another colleague who swears by it, and it's very useful for doing some inspections in our operations group where, you know, it's just really quickly tapping a button to capture an issue and logging it. So
what about setting defaults instead in your database?
Where I could see this being really useful is for our solar inspection. So when we're doing a solar inspection, there's really two ways you can go about doing it. You can do a comprehensive inspection where you're flying in a grid in like a photogrammetry style mission. You're not necessarily making a photogrammetry output, but you're covering the whole area very thoroughly. But some of our operations side kind of favors just doing these kind of quick ad hoc inspections where you can throw the drone up in the air. You can quickly spot the major issues. They're not necessarily interested in finding some of the smaller minutia that they're not going to fix anyways at that time. They just want to look for the major issues. And if they could just tap on the screen, tap one button and say, this is a string outage. And we have that whole site design digitized in our GeoDatabase down to the modules. You know, the accuracy might not get them the exact module, but it'd probably be pretty close. It'd get them the right string of modules. That's usually about, anyway, 12 to 20 of them, depending on on the site. So they just click on that and it could just get tagged quickly as a string outage or something like that. Would be something they would be interested in for sure.
Hopefully we'll have the new attribute edit by the time you get your beta copy, and you'll see a big improvement in that interface. There won't
Okay.
be, it's all on one long page. Okay. But some of the ideas you just mentioned are also very good. We can look at that in the future.
Cool. And so this whole solution works offline, right? You can download everything before you go, including the terrain. It's all completely disconnected.
Exactly.
That's amazing. There's like literally nothing else that I know of that does that on a drone.
The worst case, if you didn't have any flight, you would have to wait till you landed and to sync back with Esri with the portal.
No, you can sync while you're flying.
I'm sorry.
You can do both, right? So in the low bandwidth mode, you can sync while you're flying.
Absolutely,
It's
yeah.
not recommended, but you can.
The GeoDatabase, but to go back to and put that back up on the portal, you'd have to have connectivity.
Well, great. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to trying to test this out with one of our, thermal sensor equipped drones, and I can make a quick, dashboard and web app to kind of go with it as far as how we could review the data, just like that dashboard you showed. Should be a pretty good use case. And see if I can't shop that around in the organization. Maybe it'll gain some traction.
Appreciate it, Keith.
Keith, I'm glad you made it on all night. I think you want to try this one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll do some flights.
All right.
Excellent.
That's good coordination, so you don't have to worry too much.
All right. Are we sharing my screen again?
Still sharing.
Oh, okay, excellent. All right. I'm gonna bring this up. Right, ready for the prop? All right, I'm gonna get it up to really decent height, so we don't have any aerial. You can see that heading, which is the weakest link, until you start moving, it's clearing.
Christian, you want to grab your microphone?
Yep. You hear me again?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, that's much better.
So, all right. I'm going to teach you how to fly a drone. Yeah. A few minutes. We're up to 400 feet right now.
The connection
so
just
there's nothing
dropped
up here
again.
you can get. All right. So behind here. So always, when you're first learning, one stick at a time. If something goes wrong, just stop touching the sticks. So on the left-hand side, is up. This makes you go down. This is your yaw. So it's going to turn the drone like each way, right? But the main stick that you want to deal with is your right stick right now, right? It's the most intuitive to learn it too, right? Forward goes forward, just like a video game. Back goes back. Left. And then right. It's really that easy. So I would start
With the right stick.
with this stick right here.
Can I see it?
Yeah, it's right over there. See it right there?
No. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Okay.
So go
How do
ahead.
I know where I'm going? If I go left.
So right now you're oriented kind of that way. You're pointing towards the lake.
Okay, like this.
So yeah.
All right. So if I go backwards, it'll come towards me.
Yep, it'll start coming. Yep, see? Yeah.
Is
See on
there
your
a
video
back
screen.
seat that I have to worry about?
No, you're good. We're pretty far up there.
Okay.
Will we lose that again?
Yeah.
We're really pushing 4G to its limit.
Christian, you have to start that on your tablet.
I don't know if that's going to come back. Here, let me see that. Nope, you're fine. It has nothing to do with that.
All right.
It really is any desk.
Kirsten, you got to restart that on your tablet. There.
What's the
Right.
flight time?
This was supposedly 31 minutes, but you know, you want to land with
Incredible.
a good amount of battery. I try to start coming at 30%.
A little bit before you cross.
Yeah. So you see, I try to stay on the other side of the road a little bit.
Okay, sure.
You can see on your live video as you move around.
Oh, I
Right?
see.
Yeah, so it's all while it's moving around.
So now if I want
You can
to
see.
look straight down, that's
So,
the other one, right?
so right here, if you want to look down, you go take this, and this is your gimbal. See, look at your screen. See, it's moving your gimbal.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh. Is there another gimbal with left and right, or do you have to turn?
So to move the actual drone, take this guy and go left and right here, and you're just gonna see it turn.
It's cool. Gimbal.
Yeah. Look at that, it's a beautiful sunset.
Look at that.
You
Beautiful.
give it a try, Ron?
Sure. Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. So go ahead and hold it right here. You'll see kind of, you can physically hold it, and then you should put your thumbs right there. So again, start with this side, and then this will go left,
Way up there.
right?
Yep, there it is. Yep.
And you go forward, backwards, left, right. That's a nice sunset. That's that heading correction that it'll do, that pop. It's right over there.
Okay.
Right there.
So then it also then flies backwards this one?
Uh-huh. So if you pull that back towards you, it's gonna come back towards us. It's right there. See?
Oh, yeah.
Super easy to fly.
Wow, it's going quicker than I thought.
Well, when you're 400 feet up, it feels going slower. And so that's left. Yeah, it's yawing it left. I don't know how responsive is it over here? Decently responsive or kind of slow?
It looks about 5 hertz.
What we've done for some live streaming like this is if you have one of the smart controllers or one of the ones with an HDMI output, you can take that to a
You've done
USB
this before.
or capture device.
You're natural.
You can stream your video that way, and it comes through at a much higher refresh rate.
Do you want to try?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
The record for, hey Ron, we broke the record for GeoDev attendance. There you go. Mark,
You good, Mark?
Oh, look, we just walked.
All right.
Watch your point down, you can see yourself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
So how much?
Where is it?
Can you take a picture of the kids?
Yeah. The drone's super affordable, actually. So I think this drone is around 1,500, 1,600, somewhere in that range, I believe. Pretty affordable.
Yeah, it comes with the controller then? Or
Yep.
is that something buy separate?
Yeah, you just gotta bring the app, or excuse me, the tablet.
Oh, right. Let's watch it. Oh, look. You can see. Oh, oh my God. So delayed. I told you.
All right. See, Corey, you should have came in person. So you could have flown.
I didn't know you. I didn't read the meetup
I
well
can't hear him.
enough because I didn't know that was a thing.
No, I can't hear one here.
So sorry I'm not there. I wish I was.
Corey, what are you flying right now?
Me?
Yeah.
Not flying.
Okay.
Corey, I see your eyes kind of looking like you can't hear me. Is that better? And then now, Corey, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. It's my first time at Zoom, believe it or not.
So, just to repeat that in case you, thank you guys, everybody for joining us. Really appreciate seeing everybody online. I think what's been good about tonight is I think, we'll definitely start doing Zoom links on all of our meetings now. I think that'll help boost attendance a little bit on top of just the in-person things that we've been doing. But please look for a meeting invite on Meetup or getting together on Zoom probably to talk about fourth quarter, rest of the GeoDev Kansas City year, maybe even going into 2021. And hopefully we'll get some more attention. We can talk about more ideas on presenting, get a good feel for what everybody else would like to see, talk about meeting locations, all that good stuff, and meeting ideas, of course. So Tim Johnston, Karina Zavaleta Abel, Ron House, Christian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then
Great.
there's Ron right behind us. And then everybody online, thank you guys very much. You guys did a fantastic job tonight. So, all right, guys. We're gonna crack a cold one here, and we're gonna go on some cross country runs with the kids. And
Whatever.
we definitely broke the attendance record tonight for GeoDevs. So, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Take care.